Hi there, traders. This is Brad Gibble with FX Market Insight for Wednesday, the 6th of May. All right, now as we roll through into the middle of the week, starting the Asian session, US equity markets still pretty neutral. A little bit different to what was the main driver. Now, the dollar index is a little bit higher, but it is stalling just under 100. Dollar one's a bit all over the shop. Pretty hard to sort of work out what's going there. Now, the real big driver of the market, probably obviously for the European session in particular, was that German court ruling, right? The constitutional court ruling, which basically could potentially tie the ECB's hands with regards their future stimulus programs. So are they going to have more to fight the current crisis and future crises? Well, they have to come back and answer the question, because it looks like the Germans have had enough, and that's going to put a bit of a downward spiral, I think, on the whole euro sort of trade. Now, let's give you a look at the charts. I mean, I was short this pair yesterday and actually got it stitched up. Looking to get short on the break. Got the break. We saw a quick spike as the market was trying to work out what was going on, and then it collapsed from there. So a little bit of a tricky one. I think there was quite a few people who got touched up on that. But you know what? I analysed the trade, and I still like the setup. So to me, I mean, euro is at this point still a sell-on rally. So I'm going back for a bit more, you might think a bit more pain, but that German court ruling sets the tone for the Eurozone. And you know what? It could be the death knell for the ECB. Now, most analysts think the ECB will be able to get past this and maybe sidestep the Bundesbank. But you know what? It doesn't rule out future challenges to the ECB plans, and it's pretty good. I like the whole setup of challenging the central bank, and the fact that they aren't really using a lot of the rules that were set out when the Eurozone was formed. So that could be potentially a good thing. Restructure Eurozone as well as the finance system. Now, a lot of the other pairs, if I just give you a look here on the charts now, Aussie pretty much is trading sideways. We had that move down. We haven't heard anything else from Trump with regards future tariffs on China. So that's sort of once again playing his game. He sparks the market up, then goes quiet. We are seeing dollar yen starting to cruise to the downside with a bit of steady momentum now. And obviously euro heading lower, and sterling once again triggered lower with a bit of dollar strength, and now trading sideways, as is dollar CAD in a big range. So to me, it's a bit of a mixed area. Now, what I've sort of been looking at is we're dealing with a situation where we've got support trend lines sort of broken here. So really, I mean, you could leave those there, but really coming back in and drawing these pretty fickle resistance lines, it can be problematic, and you start to think, well, there's levels here. To me, the bigger levels, like this Kiwi, for instance, now that's just really messy price action, right? And there's, to me, moving the support trend line to these new lows is you're just moving it to the current low. So I'm not really looking for a support trend line that doesn't have structure. That doesn't work for me, but the trend line, resistance trend lines do. So maybe focusing on the trend lines where there are more than one touch or one or two touches is the best way to play it. And that'll clear things up for you. Now, Euro's sort of broken down here. So if I actually cleaned up my charts and took off the trend lines that didn't make sense, well, then you're left with, this sort of picture. Okay, now sterling, well, do you come back in here and just draw it? Well, that's just the current market where it was. I'm just going to take that out. And that's where we are at the moment. And this is pretty reflective of the price action we're seeing. The US dollar, we're in a bit of a transient phase here with the from coronavirus to the rollback of the lockdowns. And that's creating various geopolitical issues all over the world. And we're not getting that easy structure with the US dollar move. So what we're seeing is we're seeing some of the moves, but you know what? There's no real tangible levels right at the moment for my liking. The best one is, as I mentioned, is the euro, really. I mean, I like to sell Aussie on rallies, potentially Kiwi, euro, even sterling, but you know what? You've got to wait for the moment. We've got non-farm payrolls. We're only coming into Wednesday, so there's plenty of time for this to really get aggressive. So if you come back to the daily FX market insight, just having a look here at what we've got now. To me, the markets have gone into a bit of a sideways phase, okay, with the lack of US dollar direction. And that's primarily because of the various geopolitical related issues obviously related to the COVID-19. So that's where we are there as far as the market goes. Now, the active pairs for me at the moment, really, sterling's going down and dollar yen, but they're sort of in the middle of, almost middle of nowhere. So you've got a bit of a time to wait. You have to really assess how they're looking as they come back towards those trend lines. Now, a bit of a different one. Usually the analyst picks would factor in one of the active pairs. But for me, this German constitutional court ruling does put a bit of a sour note on the whole Eurozone framework. And I think this is going to have a bigger, longer term impact on the Euro. So for me, it's still a sell on rallies. You can see the chart set up there. For those who are sort of extra keen, have a look at the, if I just get rid of those drawings, you can have a look at the full structure of the trade on the analyst pick page. It might be help you out, see if that sort of fits in with your line of thought. Now, with that, obviously the Euro, I like it. To me, it's sideways because, and this is just to explain for new traders, yeah, the hourly charts are going down, and that's pretty much where the momentum is. But on the daily charts, this thing's still in a bit of a big range. So don't get overexcited. To me, it's a nice opportunity to wait for a good trade setup. We've got it. I need it to rally a bit, Euro, get in at the right levels, and then see how it goes from there. And no surprise, it's little stepbrother there, dollar Swiss, pretty much the opposite reverse setup. And then you've got the last three pairs there, right? Pretty tricky. Dollar CAD, Kiwi and Aussie in the middle of ranges. To me, I'll be waiting those pairs out until they give me a better technical setup to start with. All right, guys, that's it for me. You know, there's a few things coming out here down the bottom. Obviously, we get the first of the US numbers, the first of the US employment numbers this week. We've got the ADP non-employment change. Thursday, we have the jobless claims, and then Friday, the non-farm payroll. So keep an eye on these. They're expecting massive numbers, like minus 20 million or a $20 million change, I should say. And that's, we're going to see if it's better or worse than that. And that could be where that US dollar safe haven trade comes in. If it's above above 30 million, the change, as in the employment change, well, you know what? I think we're going to see the US dollar safe haven kick in, and that should drive most of these other pairs lower. And on the reverse side of it, if we get really good US numbers, the US dollar could fall and we go back up. There's a bit of a transition with where the US dollar is getting its direction from. So just be aware of that. It's sort of moving. It's not really connected to the equity markets at the moment. So if you are watching the equities, it's moving with the equity markets, not the opposite way around. Okay. What we've seen with the US dollar safe haven trade is if the equity markets come off, the US dollar is rallying, right? So we're at a transient point here. Just be careful of those correlations, that you don't get too hooked on them, because they disconnect and reconnect on various aspects. Okay. Wait for the trade to set up. When you see the direction, hit it from there. Now, the Asian equities, interesting to see how this thing powers on as we go through the day. Like the yen and the yen crosses are slightly down, not major, but we'll see how they play out as we go forward from here. All right, guys, have a good trade day. All the very best. Cheerio.